It is good to have you back. If you're just joining us, this is Firecrackers and we're just getting started. I have with me here in the studio Dr. Yemi Omodele, a legal practitioner. Many thanks for being with us on the show.
Thank you, presenter, and I say good day to everybody and listeners at home.
Okay, alright, and we have Alistair Wilcox, who is joining us live from Lagos State. He's an economic expert. Many thanks for being with us on the show at this time.
I hope you can hear me
Okay,
clearly.
alright. Moving right into the topic we have today. Sadly, Nigerians, according to the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, Nigeria as a country's inflation rate jumped to 24.08% in July, and this is worrisome. But I feel like it is also impertinent to note that all over the world they are battling inflation. But one of the things that it is noteworthy is, despite the fact that it is high, governments of several countries are doing a lot to try to bring it down. So this question is to Mr. Wilcox. What do you think we need to do in Nigeria to also try to bring our inflation rate down? Because the president has made mention of a lot of things that they are planning to do, but the implementation, we are still yet to see the result of it. So what should we be expecting?
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Okay, do you need to repeat the question?
No, I heard you clearly, but I want to be sure that you can hear me.
Okay, the question I asked is a lot of countries
No,
all
I
over the
heard you.
world are also
I heard you
battling
clearly, but I
inflation.
just want to be sure that you can hear me.
Yeah, since a lot of countries all over the world are battling inflation right now, and we see that they've put several measures in place to try to bring it down to the barest minimum. And in Nigeria, this inflation is something that has been climbing. We rarely record decrease in inflation. It's always on the increase, and we know that the president has put a lot of things in place to make sure that our economy is boosted. What do you feel we need to do at this point in time to checkmate the inflation rates that we're currently having?
Well, for me, first of all, we must be able to understand what are the drivers of inflation in Nigeria. And in all my studies, I have made a lot of research as to what are the drivers of inflation. Now, worldwide, there are major causes of inflation. Either it's the demand pull or cost pull. These are the two basic divides we have that drives inflation. But back to Nigeria, there are some other external factors that tend to drive inflation and drive it out of control. One of them is what I tag as the Nigerian factor way of doing things. Even when there is not supposed to be inflation, when even there is supposed to be deflation, for the sentiment of the fact that there's this sentiment that flies all over the place, everything has gone up. That is the sentiment that drives. And so, even without demand or cost pool, people just increase prices. For instance, look at why do we have inflation so high in the last few weeks? The value of the naira keep plummeting on account of a sentiment being expressed in the black market that is not even backed up by any demand. A website just keep showing you new price, new value of the naira, and that was just reflecting the market, even without any real demand or real cost. So panic and which I call the Nigerian factor, panic and sentiment is what drives Nigerian inflation. And what the government will do is to be more engaging. For instance, if you see what the government just said, the day the CBN governor wakes up from his sleep and just made a statement that speculators of our naira of foreign currency versus to the naira will pay dearly a heavy price because they're ready to intervene. What happened? The next day, the naira, the dollar knows dive and the naira gained strength. In fact, the naira gained over 100 naira within the space of 24 hours. So that would tell you that Nigerian inflationary trend most times do not measure up with economic realities. Not to say that there are no economic factors to it, but majority of the inflationary trend does not have economic factors. So as far as I'm concerned, I will keep saying that the government must be making pronouncements at all times to dissuade people Look at it again. People were speculating that NNPC was going to increase price of fuel, and NNPC came up and said we're not increasing price of fuel. And because we are speculating, places have already begun to hot fuel. All the stations closed down. Even at the price of we are selling fuel today, which is unaffordable to most Nigerians, the fuel stations still close their gates on account of speculation that NNPC was going to increase the price of fuel. And when NNPC came out to make a statement, they're not going to increase price, all the whole stations opened and then fuel started flowing. So that would tell you that in Nigeria, other than the economic factors, other than the economic reasons, people are just speculative, and speculation is what is driving our inflationary figures to a larger extent, and people just make sure that happens. And so for me it is more of the government making plans and engagement and then working around the clock through physical interventions. Monetary policy does not work in Nigeria, I can tell you for free, but fiscal policies will always have a way of trickling down to get to the grassroots. So fiscal policy intervention, such as reduction of taxes, reduction of removal of certain taxes from certain items, and then begin to make this public so that people will know that this is the intervention government is taking, and that is why this thing should drive down prices. If not, our speculative nature will keep pushing our inflationary trend forward.
That is noted. So now let us look at this. The NNPCL also announced that they secured $3 billion emergency loan from the African Export and Import Bank to stabilize the country's volatile foreign exchange market. How is that supposed to work? Getting loan to stabilize our naira, getting loans in dollars to stabilize our naira. How exactly is that supposed to work?
Well, the truth of the matter is, what drives the value of your naira down is a scarcity of foreign currency, of dollar. Unfortunately, and sadly for me, we have we made the dollar a focal point in our present structure. So even the woman that sells pepper, that sells egusi, that sells bitter leaf in the market is telling you about the price, the value of dollar. So, and that's a start development. And of course, government authorities authorities in power, that is government, CBN, allowed it to flatter, because it's only in Nigeria I see that people price commodities, goods and services in dollar, and people allow, and the government turns blind eye as to when the dollar becomes a medium of exchange, which is not supposed to be. Our medium of exchange is naira, but a lot of things are priced in dollar. School fees, a lot of school fees within the country are priced in dollar. If you go to the hotels, they price their rate in dollar, and these things just go on. Airlines prefer you to buy the ticket in dollar, even to pay for excess luggage at airport. They insist you pay in dollar. So we have so much dollarized our economy and make dollar to be in the minds and in the minds and the subconsciousness of every Nigerian. So that's continue to be a major factor that drives down, that diminishes the value of our currency. And so when this keep happening, you discover that there will be artificial scarcity, there will be artificial demand, even if the demand is not real, because that is our mindset. We keep driving, just like I said in my opening salvo. There's a website where you see the value of the dollar every morning. You wake up, it is 750 today. You wake up the next day, it is 800. You wake up the next day, it is 850. You wake up the next day, it is 900, and so on and so forth. So the question Nigerians should ask: what is the demand? Who are those? What is driving the demand? So when NNPC announced that they've gotten 3 billion credit facility, it is a stabilization fund. It's not that the money is coming in, but fuel imports takes a large chunk of our forex, of our foreign exchange reserve, either through the autonomous market or through the official market. Fuel import takes a large chunk of our foreign currency reserve. So if NNPC was able to secure a facility that will give them buffer, that means they will not need to approach either the autonomous market or the regular or the official market to source for dollar to import fuel. Remember, we're importing all our fuel needs in this country. We don't have refineries, so fuel import takes or energy import takes a large chunk of our foreign reserve. So if they've secured that kind of money, that means there'll be less pressure on the available foreign currency in both the official market and black and the autonomous market. So that pressure will go up. If that pressure goes up, then your naira will begin to gain strength because the demand will have reduced. So naira will begin to gain strength. So the what is available will now be used for other critical areas. Remember, NNPC is also the one that export our oil. So they have the means of payment. When they export oil, they will raise foreign currency, they will pay back their loan. It's a stabilization fund, and that's one of the best that NNPC has done in recent time. And you can see the reflection from 900 dollar has nosedived to about in fact it's getting to 700 at the autonomous market. At the official market it gains to about 740. So with such intervention and such pronouncement, this speculative tendencies that seems to outsmart every economic indices, every economic reasoning will begin to find its way to the back foot, and then our economy will begin to gain some respectability.
And since we are also talking about Nigeria's economy, since the removal of fuel subsidy, well, some people have also opined that the removal of this is part of what is making our inflation grow more and more. But now let us take a look of the decision of the NEC meeting that took place on Thursday that gave each state 5 billion naira to try to cushion the effect of fuel subsidy removal. How do you see that development? Do you see it as helping to the economy, or it's just indifferent?
Permit me to say that I am totally against that. I don't. Let me diminish my own knowledge to the expert knowledge and the superior knowledge of those in government. But sincerely, if I have my way, I wouldn't go through that route because throwing money at problem in Nigeria is always counterproductive. You simply enrich some few people. You are giving 5 billion to governors. What do you expect them to do with that money? They will simply tell you that they've bought a few buses and then they will go on a spending spree that does not touch the people. That is the truth of the matter. You say you are giving them rights to share. Did you count the number of people in the states? Or I mean, what's the census? What is the census that you counted as a household that will get rice? And then is rice the only food that Nigerians need? And how long are you going to feed them with rice for them to be that they say pushing the effect? So as far as I'm concerned, it is doing the same thing in the same way and expect a different result. Because in the past, when fuel prices increases, the government will always come up with the same kind of story. We are going to use the money to invest in health, invest in education, transportation. Then they will buy buses and give to labor unions, and the buses in the next 6 months, the buses will crash and they will all sell everything off and come back to square one. Look, I would have preferred a more pragmatic approach to this whole thing. First and foremost, like I said, there should have been a lot of fiscal intervention. Look, you remove fuel subsidy, yes, which is long overdue, and I thank the president for the boldness. Yes, I'm feeling it. Everybody's feeling it. I thank the president for the boldness to put this high-headed monster behind us. That is, that government is not going to subsidize fuel for anybody again, which is for me is a welcome development, even though it's affecting everybody. But what do you do with the resources? Now you cannot gain from two ends. Now you can do what they call tax-free subsidy. That's like say fiscal intervention. You should be able to one increase minimum wage and especially pensioners living wage. That's what you should do across the board. Now that will affect every facet of society. When you increase minimum wage to something of say now a lot of people are proposing 100,000, 80,000, which is an ideal figure. 80,000, 75,000, 100,000 as minimum wage. Increase minimum wage. More money that you are making or you are saving from the trillions that you are investing in fuel subsidy will not be in the hands of people, and people will not spend, and the economy will pick up. Two, take a lot of fiscal intervention, like reduction of tax rates, reduction of custom duty, because now you did two things that were inflationary in nature and that were destructive to the economy. You remove fuel subsidy, you devalue the, let me just put it in, you devalue the naira. Now when you devalue the naira, import costs become higher, and your custom duty is a percentage of the value of your import. So you are gaining from custom duty, you are gaining from the devalued naira. So the government is gaining too much money. Too much money is entering the government coffers. So what will you have done? Reduce rates, reduce tax rates. reduce tax rate on imports, that is on custom duties, so that you will still come at a level that is almost at par with what it should have been should that subsidy or the naira was not devalued. Of course, with a little bit of premium that will give you more money. That's what you should have done. And then invest in public works. Giving governors money, governors have been known to be reckless. The governors in this country have been known to be the weak link in development because nobody holds them accountable. Now, if you don't have if you don't have meat in your soup, you are blaming the president.
The
If you don't have pepper
flow of
in
your
your cup,
thoughts is here. But now the question I have to ask Mr. Wilcox is this. Some people have also opined that increasing minimum wage to like because NLC is asking for about 300% increase in minimum wage. So let's assume that they are getting 200,000 naira or more for minimum wage as at this time. Some people feel like this might even further drive inflation because some group of people might believe that, oh, okay, they have money now, so they might be able to buy whatever we are selling for higher cost. Do you reason with that, or is it an error?
as a matter of fact, increasing of minimum wage should not naturally transcend to increase in the value of goods and services. Now, increasing minimum wage is supposed to create. That's why I said Nigerian economic space is to a large extent not controlled by the force of economics. It's controlled by sentiment and the what I call it the Nigerian factor uh, 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 syndrome, whereby people just do anything anyhow without consideration. For instance, you increase minimum wage, a landlord says, "Oh, you have more money, increase your rent," and then the woman that is selling pepper said, "Oh, there's minimum wage increase." Now, what minimum wage increase should do is supposed to make you sell more. It's supposed to make production to go up, and then more people can afford to buy. Not increasing the unit cost, it's increasing the quantity, the quantity that people can afford. Things that people cannot afford before. Some who cannot afford a refrigerator cannot be able to afford a refrigerator. And then a man selling a refrigerator should be able to sell. That is what happens in the economies worldwide. But of course, Nigeria is a different. And so unfortunately, I don't know how we're going to get out of this conundrum of economic conundrum that does not follow the law of demand and supply. Now, I am saying minimum wage needs to be increased because our minimum is very, very low. That is obvious fact. And then, especially pensioners. Pensioners are the ones that are even bearing most of the brunt. And then, public works. People should engage in public work. Look, and when I mean public work is direct because Nigeria has a lot of infrastructure deficit. And so, if the government engages themselves honestly in some direct labor public works, it will put more money in people's hands. More people will be employed, and the money will not circulate to people's hand. Unfortunately, Nigeria does not see money except they see something very big. I mean, somebody who is working in a construction site, maybe in a building house where they're building house and makes about 5,000 naira every day as a mason. He doesn't see it as money in his hand. I mean, if you count that in 25 days or 30 days, you're talking about 150,000 naira. But because he's just seeing it in piece and piece, doesn't see that he's making money. An Okada man, a transporter who makes about 3,000 naira net in a day, doesn't see that he's making money. So that is one negative factor of Nigerians. But government need to do that in order to still put money in people's hands. There should be more construction. There should be more public work activities that will create, no matter even if albeit temporary jobs, that will put money in people's hands, and then people can spend and stimulate economy. It is spending that stimulates the economy. When you are spending, then manufacturers will be able to build to produce more. What do you call them? Those involved in agriculture will be able to produce more food, and then their food will not be spoiled in the market, whether be ready market to buy it. But like you said, unfortunately in Nigeria, the moment you hear that minimum has increased, the man selling gari will increase it and say, "Oh, that's my own minimum wage." But it's not supposed to be so. But you cannot again say because even if you don't increase the minimum wage, the man will still increase it because he will tell you transport has gone up because the first subsidy has been taken away. Therefore, transport has gone up. So even if transport went up by 10%, he will increase his own goods by 50%. So, and the president promised something which is very, 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 very good. He said he's going to bring back marketing boards. So, if he brings back marketing boards, of course, it's not an immediate thing. These marketing boards will be able to, through a structured network of operation, be able to know how prices of staple goods can be moderated. That is just one way out. But if you still leave it at this level as it is, I tell you, by the time they get the next inflationary figure, it will go up again because Nigerians are just good at panic, at sentiment, and at just, let me call it, profiteering and racketeering. That's just what drives our inflation. And I think the state government need to do more because it's not the federal government that should be disseminating information. It's state government and local government. It should be able to do more, interact more with the market women, interact more with transporters at their level, interact more with agricultural producers within their state. The federal government has no land. All the land belongs to the state. Every agricultural production is done by the states. So the state governors, this is a critical time in their life because Nigerians keep pointing at fingers at the federal government. Meanwhile, things like garri production, cassava, plantain, it's not the federal government. Federal government does not have land. Every land belongs to the state government. So the state government are the ones that Nigerians should be talking to about price of staple food, price of foodstuff, so that they will know what to do, work in collaboration with states. For instance, what stop a state like Ogun State to work in collaboration with a state like a Plateau or Benue, and in order to get yams and other staple food better, cheaper into their own state? What stops that? What stops states from collaborating? But because the state governors are on holiday all the time, because the people do not make a demand on them, everybody believes their problem starts and ends with Abuja. Their problem starts and ends with the federal government. So the states just go haywire. And when they get money, they just spend. You give them money today, you see gigantic white elephant project. You don't even know what the state governor will do throughout the year, throughout his 4 years tenure. He's always junketing abroad, and just because nobody will ask him questions, everybody will be looking at the federal government. So the state governors must address to the responsibility because this is now is critical time when those things that is within their domain, they must harness it. They must harness it. And the while federal government is doing policy and fiscal intervention, the state must come to the practical operational operational activities to bring about succor for Nigerians. If not so, we'll just be shouting and shouting and shouting. If the right people or the noise does not go to the right places, and the state governors and local government, the local government administration do not open their ears and listen to the cries of Nigerians, we're just shouting, and at the end of the day, things will remain like that, and nothing will change. The federal government will do their own policies, fiscal policies, fiscal intervention, monetary policies, but if the states do not key in and bring about practical solution to the day-to-day problems of Nigerians, we'll just be having a sense in futility.
All right, thank you very much for sharing your views with us on the show, Alistair Wilcox. Many, many thanks.
It's a, it's always my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, all right, and now I have to direct this question to Dr. Yemi Omodele. It is known that in Nigeria as a country, it is wrong to use dollar as a transaction within the country, and anyone who is caught is supposed to be in prison for a couple of months. But for many years now, being a legal practitioner, have you come across anyone that has been punished for using dollar as transaction in Nigeria, as a means of transaction in Nigeria?
You see, I would rather use the word foreign currency.
Okay.
Because you talk of pound sterling,
Yes.
euro, dollar, and name it. They are foreign currency. And the CBN Act, which is the enabling law, prohibits him. Because under that law, it is clearly stated that the only currency to be acceptable or accepted as a means of transaction in Nigeria is Naira and Kobo being floated by the Central Bank of Nigeria. And the meaning is that any other currency aside from Naira and Kobo shouldn't be accepted. But transacting in Nigeria, you discover that the foreign currency have been floated in some hotels, schools, and even supermarkets. It's highly embarrassing, and it's a great disobedience to law. Such a thing cannot happen in the foreign countries. You can't experience that in America or in Canada or in Europe, where you will transact with Naira and Kobo there. It's also an offense in those lines. But be that as it may, you see, we have one problem in Nigeria. The problem is the implementation and execution of our laws. You see, our law enforcement agents, with due respect to them, they are so careless and fragile to the extent that they don't do what is expected of them. There are some agencies in this country that ought to ordinarily take steps, bold steps, in making sure that such a menace does not occur. But they don't do that. All they do is to be pursuing young guys who are looking for their daily bread, arresting them, detaining them, extorting them, and charging them to court for offenses that will not be able to be established and proved before the court, and indirectly wasting taxpayers' money. That is what they do. Those agencies, they know themselves. They know the hotels they can go to where they can arrest such persons who are transacting with foreign currencies in Nigeria. They will never go there. They would rather go to clubhouses and be looking for young guys who are trying to make both ends meet and arrest them, interrogate them, and charge them to court for frivolous offenses. Now, the issue of deterrence is the major cause. If there are deterrents, you will see all this thing will be a thing of the past. For instance, if one of the big men, the big shots in Nigeria, is arrested for transacting with foreign currency in the country, prosecuted, and found guilty, take it. It will be a thing of the past in this country. Because I know, if somebody is charged to court and the prosecution is able to establish the case, the judge has no option to follow the law to the letter. But wherein you bring a frivolous charge which cannot be substantiated, the judge has no option. It's an unbiased party. He has to do it. And he will set the man free. So the major problem is it originates from the law enforcement agencies. They are not doing what is expected of them. You wouldn't be surprised that there was a time I had to move around some part of this country, and I got to a checkpoint, and one of the law enforcement agencies says, I search my bag. He said, what do you have for us? I don't have anything for you than to say, God bless you. He said, no. He said, even though it's just $100. I said, dollar from who? I don't spend dollar. I don't have cover to give you. So you see, the way the man communicated with me, he thought I'm one of those people that would just say, take dollar. No, I will not do that. So if a law enforcement agent can say that, the implication is that if you come across somebody who is transacting with foreign currency, the man has met his day, which means he will take part of the share. Then the implication is that even though he investigates such a person, the person will be let to go. So the bulk of the work lies with our law enforcement agency and some other security agencies. We know them. So they should do the needful. If they do the needful, arrest, investigate, and if there is a prima facie case, prosecute them. And the court will make findings. So it's because the courts have not been approached. That is why you see the lackadaisical attitude in the country. In fact, you wouldn't be surprised. There are some young bloods that are going to school. They say, if I can have just $500, it will be easy for me to move around. What kind of embarrassment is that? In Nigeria, when the statutorily recognized currency is naira and kobo, then a student going to a school in Nigeria is saying, if I can get $500, it will be easy for me to move around. What kind of embarrassment is that? So I would rather appeal to the present administration. In order to address all these gaps in the financial sector and the economy, the CBN, whoever may be at the helm of power, be called on to ensure that that provision of the law is being complied with.
All right.
Now, you wouldn't be surprised that even some banks have been in a banking hall. And the man came there and said, I need dollar. Do you want to pay, or you say you want to withdraw? I was looking at him. At the end of the day, I attended to it. So that is very clear. Can you go to America or a bank in America and say, I want to be paid in naira? They will look at you and say, what is this one normal? So that is the problem. Our law enforcement agents, they are not doing what is needful, and they are not doing what is expected of them. Rather, they are partners in crime.
Okay,